A lot of money experts online tell you to spend less money, save more, be frugal, live minimally. You don't need to buy all those things. And honestly, I think that can be good advice. That is, when you are first trying to get your finances under control. It is great guidance for people who tend to overspend, for people who might have a negative net worth or who are not in control of their cash flow and budgeting, and just anyone who is kickstarting their financial journey. But here's what I realized as I finally started to consider myself wealthy and started to build wealth. It's that being cheap in every single area of my life wasn't actually making me wealthier anymore. In fact, in many cases, trying to be cheap cost me time, energy, productivity, and even money. I had to accept that money, while it is important, it's what we use to exchange value and how we are able to maintain a certain quality of life. Money is not the only currency that you should be thinking about. You have to think about your time, your energy, your health, your attention, your productivity. Once I started thinking about all of these elements and what they mean to me, how much I value them in my life, it completely changed what I was willing to spend money on. So in this video, I want to share 6 things that I intentionally spend more money on and why, ironically, I actually think these things make me feel richer and wealthier. For those new here, hello and welcome. My name is Lissa Lumutenga. I'm a certified financial planner and I help women build wealth and build an abundant mindset. So if that's your vibe, make sure you subscribe. Before we jump into the list, I want you to think about one question while you're watching this video. Think about, what is something you happily spend more money on because it genuinely improves your life? Maybe it saves you time, maybe it saves you energy, maybe it improves your health, maybe it reduces stress, or just brings you a lot of joy. Whatever it is, I would love to hear it, so drop it in the comments below and please share. The first thing I intentionally spend more money on is anything that is of good quality. What I mean is I buy fewer things that last longer and are sturdier and are meant to be sustainable rather than automatically buying the cheapest version available. This applies to many different items, products, and services. Now, don't get me wrong. I still love a good deal. I love it when there's a slash on that price tag, when I find something that is on sale, something that gives me even more value out of the item. But we all know that in some cases, the lowest price tag doesn't equate to the best quality. Now, this doesn't mean I buy designer everything or that I default to the most expensive version of an item, brand name over generic every single time. That's not the case at all. What it simply means is that I have personally learned there's a huge difference between cheap, like a low price tag, cost less dollars, and what good value is, how much value you are getting for that price tag. And then on top of that, I've now become better at aligning what I buy and what I purchase with what I personally value. In this phase of my own life, that is quality over quantity. Here's just one example. I used to have a really big jewelry collection because I liked to wear different jewelry every day, different earrings, different necklaces. I would buy it if it looked cute and especially if it was on sale. Most of my jewelry back then was fashion jewelry. I did not have the money, the funds to support buying precious metals every single time. So fashion jewelry tends to be made from metals like copper and brass, sometimes gold-plated, silver-plated things. Now, no shade at all if that's your thing, but let me tell you what ended up happening to me that kind of shifted how I approach my jewelry strategy. There was one time when I moved apartments and I completely lost this entire jewelry collection. It was in an organizer and I didn't know where I put it. There were some boxes that I never unpacked because they were just things I had in storage, and that's where this jewelry organizer ended up being. But because I couldn't find it at the time, I just counted it as a loss. So I lost a bunch of earrings, necklaces, bracelets, and I just thought it was gone forever. Then it was like 2 or 3 years later, I found this jewelry organizer buried in one of those storage boxes that I had. And it was the worst feeling because every single piece in there I couldn't wear. Everything in there had tarnished. Some had turned green, some had glue that had degraded, so parts were falling off. Basically, none of it was wearable anymore, and I ended up throwing pretty much all of it away. It was at that point that I decided I was only going to buy fine jewelry. That was actually one of my New Year's resolutions one year, which sounds funny because a lot of times people's New Year's resolutions are about saving money, and mine was like, spend more. But spending more wasn't my goal. My goal when I made that shift for myself was to focus on quality over quantity. I had realized that I don't need to wear a different necklace every time I go out. In fact, I've been wearing this same one for probably over a year now. I'm perfectly happy owning fewer pieces if I know they're gonna last me for decades. Of course, there's that risk of losing them, but for me, this is one of those areas where spending more money has actually made me feel wealthier. Yes, I have fewer things, fewer pieces. I have to build this collection up slowly because I don't have a bunch of money lying around where I could just buy a whole new fine jewelry collection. But I've shifted from buying everything and trying to get new pieces every time I go to the mall and every time I go shopping online to being intentional, to really understanding what I like, what I value, and it actually makes each thing I purchase a lot more special. Number two, another thing I spend more money on and feel wealthier about is I spend more on my health. When I say health, I'm talking about anything that helps me feel better physically or mentally, and not just for today, but for the long term. Some of these things I spend on are necessities, but some are definitely luxuries. All in all, I think of all of them as investments in my long-term health and well-being, and some of them also just make me feel good in the short term as well. Before I share some of those things that I spend on, one in particular I want to touch on is food. When I used to live paycheck to paycheck and I would be falling in debt every month because I couldn't keep up, I would optimize everything by price. That meant when it came to food, I bought the lowest priced groceries. I ate at fast food restaurants because they were cheap and convenient. I don't know about these days. It costs so much to get a meal at a fast food restaurant these days. But I generally made decisions based on what cost the least. The problem when you do that is, unfortunately, sometimes you sacrifice quality. Those fast food options have a lot of processed food. The cheapest groceries sometimes aren't made with the best or freshest ingredients. Now, to reiterate, I still care about getting good value for my money. I'm not just blowing money all crazy, but I'm also optimizing for my long-term health. In my life, that looks like buying less processed food, buying more fresh food. It means paying more for certain groceries and making more trips to the grocery store because sometimes the items I buy, all the fresh food, doesn't last as long. It also means buying groceries or choosing restaurants that serve fresher, higher quality food instead of automatically defaulting to fast food or cheaper food options. And this isn't 100% of the time. It's more like if I decide to go out and eat and dine out, I'm going to choose a restaurant that has higher quality food. Doesn't have to be fine dining every single time, but places where I know the ingredients are going to be better for my health than somewhere else just because it's cheaper. Moving on from food, another health thing that I'm very big on is investing in better sleep. Things like a high quality mattress, memory foam pillows, cooling sheets, weighted blankets, and I have a really good Dyson air purifier in my room that I love. None of these things are cheap, but over time I've tried to create an amazing sleep environment for myself so that I could get better quality sleep, sleep longer, and then it just makes me feel more energized and feel healthier for my awake hours. Finally, there is a bucket of health-related expenses that I kind of consider my lifestyle investments. So these are not necessities. Oftentimes, these are the first things to go if money is tight and I need to save for something else. But I can tell you that these are things that help me maintain my physical health, my mental health, my mobility, and my recovery. So here are a few things that I currently pay for on a regular basis. Massages, assisted stretching. I have a membership at Stretch Lab. Headspace, it's the app that I use for guided meditations, breathing exercises, and calming music for sleep or recovery. And yes, I know you can get this stuff on YouTube for free, but that's the app that I enjoy using, and it improves my life, so it's something I'm going to subscribe to. Now, I also recently started a subscription, a monthly subscription for IV hydration and vitamin therapy. Now, I'm not saying this is for everybody. This is not health advice because it can get pricey and it has its risks as well, I guess. But it's something I'm exploring and seeing whether or not I even want to do long term. I wanted to try it because I do know that IV therapy can help with hydration and certain vitamin deficiencies, especially when your body isn't absorbing all those vitamins through food. But that's the thing. That's the beauty of being in control of your finances and finally starting to build wealth where you do have disposable income, where you can choose the things you want to invest in. For me, that's health and the little various elements that I consider health-related purchases might sound crazy to some people, but might make sense to others. What's important is that you know the value that you are paying for and how it fits into your quality of life. Now, I'm not going to lie, when I was younger, I would have looked at all of this and thought,
I don't need any of that. Why would I pay someone to stretch me when I can just stretch myself? Stretching is free. Why would I pay for IV therapy? I could just drink water.
and that's not because I was just broke and being super cheap. I now understand that my mindset back then looked at health completely differently. Health is often one of the easiest things we can put off until later. And especially when money is tight, you're going to optimize for cost. You want to go cheaper on everything. But my argument here is as you continue to build wealth, which all of you are, that's the whole point of my channel. So if you are here, I know you are working towards building wealth. You have to start thinking about what are the things that I want to prioritize. And I hope that health is one of them and you find what are those things that help you both with your short-term and long-term health. Number 3, I buy back my time. The third thing I intentionally spend more money on now that I am wealthier is I buy back my time. By that, I simply mean that I pay for products or services that I know will give me back time or energy because I want that time or energy redirected to other places on things that are more valuable to me. When I think about my journey since I've moved from survival mode to now having more disposable income, I've been learning on the go what are the best ways to do this for myself. I honestly think that this is probably one of the biggest mindset shifts that you can make, especially if you grew up like I did, or if you have immigrant parents who might ask you,
Why would you pay for someone to clean your house or wash your car when you can do it yourself?
honestly, I think sometimes they're right? Sometimes you have the time and the energy to do something and save some money and use that money for other things. I don't think buying back your time means paying someone else to do every single thing for you simply because you're lazy. I think it's all about being intentional and recognizing that your time and your energy are valuable. There is a shift that happens as you start to build more wealth where you can't just optimize only for dollars and money. You have to also optimize for your time and energy because those things are finite. Some examples: housekeeping services. If you don't have the capacity to clean your house on a regular basis. My husband and I personally use housekeeping here and there, and then in between, we do the cleaning. We also outsource dog grooming. It's just one less thing off our plate and something that we're happy to pay for. I mentioned car wash earlier. We live in a townhome, so there's not really an area to wash a car. Like, we could make it work with buckets and stuff if we wanted to, but to us, it's a lot more convenient and efficient to just take our car to the car wash. And I hope I don't get flack for this one, I'm gonna say it, but something else that I have paid for is the occasional Uber Eats delivery. If I just don't have enough gas left in the tank, figuratively, speaking, and I don't feel like cooking dinner, I don't feel like going out to go pick up food myself, then I will pay for delivery. That doesn't mean I love all those little fees, the convenience fee, the delivery fee, the fee to be the priority delivery. I don't love all these fees, but on a case-by-case basis, when it feels intentional, because it's my best option that's going to relieve me some pressure and give me time to relax, then I'm okay doing it. When you build more wealth, there are going to be certain conveniences that genuinely improve your quality of life. Now, the last thing you want to do is pay for convenience by default because you think, I have it like that, when in reality you don't. So you always have to match these conveniences with your budget and across your other financial goals. But if you can do that and get the right balance, I think there is nothing wrong with paying for convenience and freeing up your time and energy when it makes sense. Number 4, something else I spend more money on that has made me wealthier is I invest in learning. When I say learning, I don't just mean formal education or going back to school for another degree. I think that's part of it, but I think anything counts. What I mean is intentionally investing in new skills, new experiences, certifications, and knowledge. Anything that's going to help you grow personally or professionally, I think is something good to consider. I think this paying more to learn has probably given me the biggest financial returns of anything on this list, maybe. So believe it or not, I turned 40 this year, which means I graduated college in 2008, and I actually finished my master's degree by the end of 2009. Now, for a lot of academically minded people, you earn your degree, maybe 2 degrees, and then you typically stop because then it's time to focus on your career for the next couple of decades. Now, I know that every so often people do go back to school for another degree, maybe to get a master's or a PhD. But what I actually want to talk about in this video is all of the learning that happens outside of traditional education. I'm personally a lifelong learner, and I've always spent some of my disposable income learning new things. I know a common complaint that I've heard from people is they have no time, even if they wanted to learn a new thing. Where do they find the time or the energy? Which is another thing I want to point out, because the more you build wealth and the more you prioritize what you value and the more you conserve more of your time and energy, you will eventually have more time and disposable income, and you get to choose what to spend it on. I am making the case that I think you should consider learning something new. There are a lot of benefits to it. One, you might just genuinely enjoy it. I took a pottery class last year and I enjoyed it so much, I want to go back. I got to create a bunch of pieces. We used them in our kitchen. I actually used that pottery class to make all of my Christmas gifts for my family last year because it was very therapeutic to create these things. And then it was nice that I was able to share my creations with my family. Number 2, learning also has obviously a lot of benefits beyond just enjoying the learning itself. Learning expands your knowledge, it introduces you to new people, and sometimes it even opens doors to completely different career paths. Another benefit to learning is sometimes it's just fun. It can be therapeutic. It's nice to have hobbies where you don't feel like you have to be productive all the time. You can just do something to genuinely enjoy it. I was going to spend a whole section of this video sharing some of the things that I've learned since college, classes that I've spent money on, and share what I got out of them, but I already know this video is running long, so I'm just going to do a laundry list. You guys can ask me questions about it later if you want. So here are actual classes and programs that I've taken since graduating from grad school. I've taken bartending school. I took a coding boot camp. I obviously went back to school to get my CFP certification to become a certified financial planner. I mentioned pottery earlier, and I've taken improv classes twice, both at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade here in LA, and the Groundling School. Oh yeah, one more. Toastmasters. I am a current Toastmaster. If you've never heard of it, Toastmasters is a club. It's a global organization, and there are clubs all over the place. You could probably find one within a few miles from where you live. I currently serve as an officer at my club here in LA, and the point of the club is not only to become a better communicator and a better speaker and build confidence, but it also builds community. I've met some great people in my club, and I feel like we're friends outside of the club now. And it's probably one of the best experiences I've had, like money for value, because it's not that expensive. Now, beyond these classes and programs and the Toastmasters Club, I also invest in learning through buying books. I read a lot of nonfiction and personal development types of things. I've paid for workshops, I've gone to conferences. I'm not shy about anything that is going to help me just develop professionally and personally as a person. And I think there's just so much value you can get out of it, which is why spending on learning over the years has always made me feel a lot richer and a lot wealthier. 4 down, 2 to go. If you are enjoying this video, if it's inspiring you in any way, please don't forget to hit the like button and maybe share the video with a friend. Number 5, I spend more on experiences. I actually, over the years, the more wealth I've built, the more items I've collected and purchased, I've started to realize that for the most part, I have everything I want and need. There's always going to be more things I can buy, more things I can try, but on a basic level, I have everything that I want and need. That's going to happen to you at some point when you build a certain amount of wealth. So for me, at some point, I started shifting into spending more on experiences than buying more things. When money was so much tighter and I didn't have a lot of it, I felt like it was hard to justify paying for something if I didn't have something tangible to show for it. But now, I'm constantly okay with paying for moments and memories. Things I can't necessarily show, but I know how it feels. This is a complete 180 from how I used to think. I'm going to give you a big example that not all of you might agree with, but I used to look at people flying first class and I would just think that's a waste of money. It's like few hours, even for long flights. That's 10 hours. You're paying thousands of dollars, and for what? Until I did it myself. And then I realized that when I have the budget for it, I actually value comfort so much more than I thought I did. As some of you know, I've had a lot of knee surgeries and things over the years. 5 years ago, I was hit by a car as a pedestrian. There are a lot of things that make my body ache and feel uncomfortable, and one of those is sitting on a plane. I'm 5'2", so I don't take up a lot of space, but it doesn't mean my body feels great all the time. So I have learned that I value comfort. And to me, in some instances, comfort is an experience. First class flight, nicer hotels, the ones that smell good when you walk in. All of those things are great experiences to me that I value, that I appreciate, that I'm grateful for, and that I'm willing to spend money on. So yes, sometimes these things cost more, but they make me feel a lot richer. On to the last thing. I spend more on tools that will save me time, energy, or money. I've touched on a lot of this already earlier in the video, but by tools, I mean anything that's going to help me save time, save energy, make better decisions, stay organized, or ultimately things that help me maybe make more money. So I don't shop all willy-nilly, but if I know that a tool or a software or an app is going to improve my efficiency, save me time, help me stay organized, I will pay for it. This is why I use Monarch Money to organize my money. This is not a sponsored video, but if you want to try a new app, I will drop my link in the description because I love it. It just saves me so much time in organizing my financial life. Another app that I pay for that actually saves me a lot of time is called Superhuman. Superhuman is actually now a suite of apps, and I use a couple of them, but the main one is to organize email. So here's the thing. When I tell you guys that I am a Gmail super user, I wholeheartedly believe that. I'm very fast with Gmail. I'm an inbox zero kind of person. I used to work at Google for over a decade, and when I first started at Google, I was actually an admin assistant. So all I did was emails, calendar invites, all those things. So as fast as I am at Gmail, I still swear by Superhuman. Superhuman makes me even faster at managing email. Now, Superhuman costs money. It is an app that has a subscription if you want to access all of the different tools, and I'm okay with it because I know that this saves me so much time and energy and it makes me more efficient, and I just like the interface that this is, again, one of those tools that makes it worth it for me. I just wanted to give you guys some examples because it's hard sometimes to justify why you pay for certain things, but I want you to remember two things. One, the things you spend your money on have to fit with your lifestyle and what you value. There's always going to be noise and people making judgments about, like, why would you spend on a first class flight, or why would you pay for Superhuman when Gmail is free, right? There's always going to be noise like that, but the very first thing that I want you to remember is it's your money, it's your life. Remember that, because if you can stay confident in your own financial decisions, that's what's going to take you further when it comes to building wealth and continuing on in your financial journey. And number two, I low-key forgot what number two is. Number two, when you start to build more wealth, focus on being intentional. There's no exact rule on what you're supposed to buy or not buy, whether you're wasting money or throwing it all away or not putting enough in savings and investments. All of those things vary person to person based on your situation. But the thing that applies to everyone is being intentional. If you understand what you value, is that comfort, is that experiences, is that quality and durability, then it's going to help you continue to make good financial decisions as you build wealth, and it'll help you actually maintain your wealth and keep growing. So yes, I spend more on these things and they cost more, but somehow I end up feeling more rich and more wealthy because of these things. I hope this video was helpful, and until next time, peace out.